in 2015, our former president, I'll make this a little shorter than I had intended, but our former president, Norm Brecky, who can't make it to the meeting today. I did talk to him about it. He's in Seattle, but he's visiting his kids that he hasn't seen for 2 years. So he came up with a great idea of honoring the early founders and contributors to the guild. And that first year, we inducted 12 people, and some of them are sitting right here. And then 2 years later, we inducted 7 more people, and then 5 more people. And the numbers keep going down because we want to honor the contributors for sure. And Barry's starting a slideshow, but we are running late because we want to have at least an hour's worth of stories. Barry says he'll stay.
Go right ahead and talk, Judith.
Okay. Barry says he will stay later if people want to continue. Here are our original Golden Circle. Johnny Moses was representing Vi Hilbert. Spencer Shaw was also in that group. This was our 2017 group. And Donald Braid is in Indiana, so he wasn't present. Claire Cuddy wasn't present in 2015. And all of these people are here tonight, except Tom Galt. So, and here's our first honoree tonight will be Jill Johnson. And Allison is going to talk about her and introduce her children who are present. And then Patty Zaitlin will talk about Afifi. Aren't these beautiful pictures? So Afifi may not be back with her water yet, but I think we'll let Allison begin to speak. And we're so glad. I personally didn't see Beth yet, but I know, and this is Bergith, who just passed away. She's not being inducted at this point, but she has served us very well in this last year when we've been trying to relieve Barry of many duties, and she was able to be the leader for our board meetings, so keeping us on task. So thank you all for being here. And now on to the Golden Circle. Allison, will you please take over?
Well, hello. I've had many technical challenges today. So if for some reason you suddenly can't see or hear me, I hope this works. I'm trying to figure out how to change. There we go. I'm going to change to what I wanted to tell you. Oh, great. I can still see the view. So what I'm about to say, I have shared before in our newsletter, but I believe the importance of words being spoken aloud in Jill's honor. So to understand the wealth of experience that Jill has brought to storytelling, let me first share with you a little about her past. Jill was an educator all her life. After graduating, she moved west to become a teacher. She later volunteered with the U.S. Army Special Services in Korea and later in Vietnam. And she told some harrowing stories about being there during the Tet Offensive. When she returned to the States, she married Lane Johnson, and they joined the Peace Corps and served in the Philippines. And that's where her children were born. And I imagine what it was like to have your children born in a foreign country. Wow. Then they returned, came to Washington, and there Jill taught English as a second language to Southeast Asian refugees, and she worked as a community health educator for Planned Parenthood. In '89, the family moved to Cameroon, West Africa, where Jill worked for the UN and CARE and served as a training coordinator for volunteers who were evacuated during the coup in neighboring Chad. So these are people that were pretty much experiencing post-traumatic stress, and Jill worked with all of them. This led her to serving as a Peace Corps training director in Morocco, the Central African Republic, and the Solomon Islands. And throughout all of this, Jill always acted in service to others. I'm hoping that Beth and Phil, who will speak after me, might share some favorite memories from these years. So after returning from Africa, the family moved to Tennessee, and that's where Jill found storytelling, the National Storytelling Festival. And this began a 20-year career as a storyteller with performances, workshops, and recordings that spanned across the US and the world. When Jill returned to Whitby, where she had once lived when she was younger, she created two of her historical one-woman shows, Little Bit Oh My and Rebecca. And she received the National Storytelling World Winner Award and the Honors Award for the CDs of her performances. And she also appeared in many local plays as an actress. But Jill felt that storytelling was what she was born to do. Whoops, I lost my place here. And she was actively performing just months before her death. And all who knew her could see her passion and energy, how she threw herself into everything she did. She cared deeply about the world about her and the people in it. I want to share with you some thoughts from some other people, and some of them are here. But Catherine D. Peroni isn't. And she said, Jill was a mentor to so many. She was filled with wisdom and strength, and always working towards her next big idea. She was an advocate for everyone. Her energy and spirit was contagious, and she shared so many stories about a family-owned Persian rug, her personal stories of working with the Peace Corps and activists, her adventures in Iceland with her granddaughter. She performed in several of our epic storytelling events from their inception. She was an active member of the National Storytelling Network and was their liaison for Seattle and Washington area. She was an incredible MC, a marvelous organizer, pulling together a wide variety of programs and events. Sorry, this is hard for me, but I'm going to do it. Norm Breck wanted to be here, but he couldn't be here. And he said that Jill was a wonderful person. He said, when I first met her at the Shoreline Library, she did a wonderful program. After playing beautifully on a thumb piano, she had instruments for all the kids to play, and she beamed as they played this cacophony of squawks and tweets off rhythm, drumming bells. And the joy in her face was genuine and bright. Later, when telling ghost stories in Edmund's library, a group of young kids came in, and she went completely off script right at the spur of the moment and launched into a terrific, energetic telling of Jack and the Robbers. She was always kind in her advice about starting to tell. And she told Norm, choose wisely in what you tell at the beginning, because you will find that you'll be telling those same stories 20 years later. And Margaret, who is here, Jill wrote an article for her book, Tell the World, about her storytelling in French for Cameroon children, and she graciously let Margaret stay in her spacious Tennessee country home when Margaret went to the festival. She said Jill was a force to be reckoned with. Liz Weir wrote, it was a pleasure to host Jill in Ireland. We talked storytelling for hours. She's a gracious lady who had great stories from her work overseas. And John, who is here, wrote, when I first met Jill Johnson, she was president of the Storytelling Guild in Seattle and was facilitating the monthly event at All for Kids bookstore. She was trying to organize the upcoming celebration, and new to Guild events, I asked if I could be of any help, and she didn't waste any time. She made John MC. That was Jill, telling, teaching, organizing with a bold energy, no nonsense, just whatever it took to get the job done, and with good cheer. That was true whether she was on the Guild board, telling stories, performing in her one-woman shows, directing plays on Whidbey Island, acting as the NSN national rep, or creating the first ever storytelling festival on Whidbey Island. She was a whirlwind of energy and optimism, but I also remember her humility. No job was too small to tackle or too large. And year after year at the Storytelling Festival, many of us will remember that while the rest of us were listening to tellers and tales in the theater, Jill was at her post in the cafeteria managing the items for the silent auction, missing the stories. She was faithful to whatever task she took on, regardless of the sacrifice. She wasn't just a storyteller. She was a vital member of the storytelling community. She understood that story builds the connections that make community and that make us all a little human. Lance Lambert, who couldn't be here, said one of the Pacific Northwest tellers that has been most admired by both tellers and audiences is Jill Johnson. I'll never forget her loving and funny story about providing a Christmas celebration for a group of soldiers when she was a nurse serving in Vietnam. Their stories will live on. And Patty, who's here, said Jill generously welcomed our guild to her lovely home in Whidbey during 2 different summers for a whole day-long yearly planning meeting. No small feat. I'm so grateful that I got to hear her tell. Our community has lost an outstanding teller, precious friend, and dedicated, generous supporter of our mission. Mary Dussen, who also couldn't be here, said one of the most strident people I have ever met, that Jill Johnson. She took a shine to my 17-year-old daughter, or to my daughter 17 years ago, and encouraged her to stand up and be herself. And do you know, Jill maintained that support over the years, including attending my daughter's wedding. I worked with Jill on many projects over the years, and she was clear, asked questions, and when she didn't know, and she celebrated everyone's successes as her own. Joy Ross, who's also here, said, how do we say what an inspiration Jill has been to our stories? Her talents were so inspiring, and what she shared was special. Jill had the most beautiful way of making a person feel like they belonged on stage, in the audience, or along the path of life. Elizabeth Ellis, who many of us know is an international storyteller, said the memory that stands out for me that is most compelling is her telling of Eleanor of Aquitaine, a historical story, and her passion for storytelling, even when I first met her years ago when she lived in Tennessee. Jen Stone said Jill made a huge impression on me at Fanning in the Embers. As a strong powerhouse of a woman, she looked at me and said something as only a powerful woman would say to another woman who needs a boost. If I don't see you showing up at the local storytelling events, I'm going to go look for you myself. So you did. You'd be sure she'd show up. Ann Brendler, who's also here, said Jill was deeply kind and gentle, while also being strong and undaunted, whether facing expected or unexpected challenges. What stood out for me, besides her indefatigable in creativity, was that she was ever generous with her encouragement to her storytelling colleagues. She made newcomers to our art feel welcome in our storytelling tent. Jill will always be remembered as a genuinely beautiful person. Eva Abram, who's also here, said, I had joined a storytelling trip to South Africa, but when I arrived, I was sick with a cold. I had to stay in bed. I had no medicine with me, and I was suffering. And when Jill found out, she said, follow me. And she took me to her room and unfolded a pouch of all kinds of medicines and said, what do you need? And that's when I learned that Jill had traveled often. She gave me what I needed, made it possible for me to enjoy her stories and the experience of being in South Africa surrounded by storytellers. And after that, I had a friend for life. And over the years, I've had the pleasure of seeing Jill perform many stories, from history to folk tales to cultural stories, especially those based on her travels. I will miss her ebullient, excuse me if I can't say everything right, joy that came out during her storytelling, especially when she talked about being a grandmother. When Jill found out that she had leukemia, she called me from the doctor's office and asked me if I would help with publicity for the next Whidbey Islands Festival, because she said, I don't think I can do it all myself. She did not call to
Allison, you're muted.
I'm muted?
No.
You're not muted.
Oh,
I can hear her.
We can hear you.
Okay, I'm almost done.
Go for it.
She did not. When Jill called me, when she found out she had leukemia, she called me from the doctor's office and asked me if I would help her with the publicity for the next festival on Whidbey Island, because she said she couldn't do it herself. She did not call to complain. In true Jill fashion, she was already making plans for the festival in spite of finding out that she was already so very ill. Sadly, her health declined quickly, and that was the last festival, or that last festival was never meant to be. And so even though my story sister was gone, when her daughter Beth Short and her son Phil Johnson heard that I was interested, they kindly shared Jill's storytelling books with me. And I felt we still had a piece of Jill here with us, whispering stories in our ears. I shared some of the books with Catherine for her work with children, and some of the books with Mary for her work with incarcerated teens. I brought boxes of the books to Eva with some African stories for her and many more books for our guild library, which includes duplicate copies of beginning storytelling books proving Jill's unending dedication to teach others the joy she found in storytelling. And I kept some books for me so that I could continue telling the stories that she loved to keep her legacy alive. I'm sorry, I'm so emotional, but I would now like to introduce you to Jill's daughter, Beth Short, and her son, Phil Johnson, who would like to say a few words as well, and who have offered to match donations to the Seattle Storytelling Guild in Jill Johnson's honor. And they also will tell you more about a celebration of Jill's life in her home on Whidbey Island next year on Jill's birthday in early April. So now I turn this over to Phil and Beth.
Thank you, Allison. Can everybody hear me okay? My name is Beth Short. This is my husband, Luke. Thank you so much, Allison. I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional too, but the way that you characterized my mother was spot on, and I really appreciate everything that you said about her and that other people said. And I just want to say, you're right that when she discovered storytelling, it was like she was born to do that. And, you know, she found a home in storytelling and a mission and a purpose and a passion like I'd never seen from her before. And it meant so much to her to share and also to be good at it. You know, she cared very much about perfecting her craft and being a good storyteller and doing the right thing and also sharing it with others and allowing, you know, exposing other people to it. And it was just so very important to her. And so I so very much appreciate her being inducted because I know it would mean the world to her. And I remember when you mentioned the thing about some children, I was thinking to myself that in my memories of her telling, she always loved telling to children because she would say that their reactions were just so pure and she would know when she hooked them, you know, and she really got them interested and engaged. And she just always loved telling to children all over the world. And but she was, you know, she was a performer. She loved to perform and storytelling. You know, she once said that her storytelling may have been a little bit different than traditional storytelling because she was, you know, an actress. And so she, you know, she was used to having a set and props and music and things that maybe aren't traditional, but it was her own version or her own brand. And she really owned it and tried to craft it. And, you know, she was so very proud of the awards that she won. And, you know, it really was her passion and her life's work. And as you said, she wasn't done. And, you know, that to her getting sick before she could see the festival through. And I remember her even saying that, you know, if she knew that, I think her last performance was the lighting of the Christmas tree in November on Whidbey Island. And, you know, she said, geez, if I would have known that was going to be my last performance, you know, I probably would have done something differently. And so I had to reassure her, like, Mom, I'm sure it was lovely, you know. It was definitely her life's work. And so I just want to say thank you all. And as Allison mentioned, I will be donating up to $1,000 match donations So please, I encourage everyone. It really mattered to my mother about sharing the art and enabling more to discover it as a art form and also to be entertained by it. And so I would like to help facilitate that and encourage other people to donate in her honor. And also my employer, Microsoft, will also match my donations. So we can really have a big impact here. So I really encourage everyone to donate whatever you can. And I know that my mother would be very proud to help out in any way that the money can help to further the mission. So thank you all so very much. And thank you, Allison, for your wonderful words about her. It was as if I spoke them myself. So and my brother is here, and I'm not sure if he wants to say anything, but if you'd like to, Phil, go ahead and take it away.
I don't know. I likewise am so honored that Mom was inducted. I think my sister said it. Allison, thank you for that wonderful summation of her life. It was great. And I don't know if you probably all knew her, later in life when she became a storyteller, but I thought I would share this with you if you had never seen it before. Oh. It's my favorite picture of my mommy. This was in 1971 in the Philippines. And so I have this picture now, and I always think of Mommy when I see it. So that was, she was a pretty cool lady. And, it's kind of overwhelming, I guess. Yeah, I think Beth said it better than I could say it. My daughter was here for a little bit, her granddaughter, but she got a little overwhelmed too. So it's kind of understandable, but we loved Mom, and we are going to honor Mom with this donation. I wholeheartedly support it, and I would encourage you to donate so we can match as much as we can. And also let everyone know that we're going to have a celebration of Jill's life in April of next year, which would have been her 81st birthday. So mark your calendars for April 3rd, 2022. And we're going to have a celebration of Mom's life, and we wanted to wait that long so we could all be together instead of doing it virtually like this, and we could hug and cry and laugh together. So this is okay, but it's no substitute for a good hug when you need one. So thank you all very much for this, and I agree with my sister 100%. Allison, you nailed it. Talking about Mom's life, and it makes me proud to be her son, to hear the story of her life and know that she touched so many people the way she touched us. So thank you very much. So, and this is my wife Stacy, by the way, and she always said that Mom was a pretty good mother-in-law. So thank you.
Well, thank you all very much. Judith, you want to introduce our next speakers?
Yeah, so
let me.
Allison, did you still want to say something?
No, I was just waving goodbye.
Oh, waving goodbye. Thank you very much.
Bring Judith
and we want to thank you both so much for the idea of the donation and following through with the matching. That's just so kind of you all. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And now we'll have Patty talk about Afifi and all of her contributions to our guild. Thank you. So, Patty.
Okay. I was very touched hearing about Jill. Felt some tears coming up. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I just need to get you on the screen.
Yeah, that would be good.
There you are.
Okay. I don't see myself.
You're coming.
There I am. Yes. Well, I was very moved because I really loved what Jill offered to our guild and as a person too. And I'm happy to introduce Afifi, who is still with us, Afifi Durr. She has made a unique contribution to our Seattle Storytellers Guild. During the 6 years she's been on our board, She has brought us greater connection, caring, and understanding of Middle Eastern cultures. And she started an entirely new branch of our guild here, the Briarcrest Storytellers. I first met her at the Middle East Peace Camp, an organization she founded to build peace between Arabs and Israelis, beginning with the children. The program included food, dancing, storytelling, and plays, one of them entitled, You Cannot Please Everybody. Afifi was born in Bilbos, Lebanon. She has worked extensively as a translator of English into Arabic, first in the Arabic section of the Beirut BBC, then in London with the Moroccan Embassy, where she was put in charge of the press and cultural sections. But her dream was always to come to America, and at last in 1963, she was transferred to Washington, D.C., to continue her work for the Moroccan Embassy. Later on, she came to Seattle and started a successful translation business here. She has gifted us with many beautiful stories about her life that have connected us in a positive way with the Middle East, allowing us to appreciate and learn about cultures we know little about, other than the bad news and fear through the limited lens of the media. Afifi has said her purpose on the board is to train and encourage people to tell their personal stories as well as historical, cross-cultural, and folk tales that help them enjoy cultural differences and peaceful communication. Last year, Afifi invited Nashi Abi Hashun, a psychologist, to tell at one of our events, and we learned more from him about cross-cultural psychological differences. And in the past few years, Afifi persistently worked with a group she was part of that had never included storytelling in their programs. It was unfamiliar to them, but she inspired them and never gave up until they finally gave in and tried it. That is how the Briarcrest Storytelling Group in Shoreline came to be. I know personally that Afifi is resilient, courageous, caring, and creative. She has contributed so much more to the purposes she mentioned than I can even include here. I have learned a lot from her, having enjoyed finding out about Middle Eastern culture, music, and Arabic writing. She is a kind, generous friend, and I am grateful to know you, Afifi. Yesterday was my birthday, and I asked if she would, it would be a great gift if she would write my name in Arabic, which she did. And here it is. I will treasure that, certainly, as I treasure her friendship. When I asked what she would like people to know about her, she said, "Life is a lesson. Our trials, hardships, happiness, experiences, love, life stories are simply lessons that hopefully will help us to be more empathic and tolerant with others, no matter what culture or background they have come from." I am delighted to have the honor of including her in our Seattle Storytellers Golden Circle, inducting her. Welcome, Afifi.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Patty.
You're so welcome, my dear.
I would say one thing about Afifi is that she has a tremendous laugh. And she always brought her laugh to our programs, to our meetings. She is probably one of the most faithful at attending meetings, and she always comes with new ideas of ways we can encourage and develop storytelling in our area. Let's everyone applaud Afifi Durr.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. It is a great pleasure to be part of your family. And I joined it after when I told my first story about Tabbouleh in the Folk Life Festival. And that's where I knew about the storytelling. And it was about 15 years ago, I think. Because I called the woman who did the storytelling with me. I said, when did we do? She was American Lebanese, and she said, We did it, and she gave me the time, so I figured it. It's 15 years or 16 years when I joined the group, and I am so proud to be part of your guild and board directors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Afifi. Thank you for all of your contributions to our guild and to the board. And our plan now, and you can see, you're going to get a certificate. Barry will probably mail it to you. Maybe he'll bring it. Our plan now was to eat our golden circle cake. I mean, you saw the picture of it, right? It came in all the emails, and now it's time for cake and a little break.